As always, please add your name and affiliation to the list of attendees, just so we have some idea of who's regularly been attending. And at this point, I'll pause. Is there anything people want to add to the agenda this week? If something comes up throughout the course of the meeting, feel free either to chime in at the next available opening or to add it to the any other business section, and we'll tackle it when we get there. Okay, we don't have a lightning talk lined up for this week, but we should have one next week. Just checking if Marius is on the call. He's not, so I'll have to confirm with him via Slack or some other way, just to make sure that that's still going ahead. If you do have a lightning talk you want to give, though, reach out. We'll get them scheduled in. So we'll take a look at the recent user-raised issues. There was one since the last meeting about a class being loaded from the wrong location on a modular run. I see there's been some discussion there, but has this been confirmed?
Yes, I confirmed that the misbehavior.
Okay, do you believe this is a blocker for the next release?
I don't know enough about this to offer an opinion there.
Okay, I'm slightly concerned do I understand this correctly, that we're loading the wrong class or that we're assigning the wrong class loader to something?
I think it's just the wrong class loader for the class.
I wonder if this is a regression. It seems to me there might have been a related change that went in. It would be interesting to try it on an older release and see if it only happens on the latest, or see what we can find when it started happening.
Yeah, I believe they stated that it did not occur on a previous release, but it works with 0.30, but not with 0.32. The regression.
I would say that makes it's a regression. It's a blocker for the next release.
Are there any other issues in this list that we need to talk about or that need some attention? Back to the agenda. That brings us to the roadmap section of this meeting. So the Java 18 GA was canceled, but we've since had the 0.32 release with Java 8, 11, and 17 tagged to the release towards the end of the last month. And I believe, according to this, all the summary builds are available. So that release is 100% done and out the door. Adam or Pete, if you can confirm.
I think so. We went out originally without Mac, but I see Mac now, so I think so. I don't see Adam, but.
All right, and then that brings us to the 0.33 release, which is the next quarterly release. Note that we are now in the business of shipping 4 releases at a time, 3 LTS plus a feature release. If I pull up the release plan here, we have 24 open items, including a couple of blockers at this point. The one we just added, plus 2 that we've been moving forward from previous releases. Are we on track to have these resolved in this release?
I thought the one you're hovering over was resolved already.
take a look at the end of this. It says that it's resolved. So sounds like this can be closed then.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it didn't get resolved.
Good. That means we're back down to 2 blockers. Do we have an update? Is Daryl on the call?
I don't see him.
Because that would be the this other one that we've been moving forward is, I believe,
So
OSR related.
is that still with JIT or?
There are some questions that GAC has been answering around J to I frames.
I thought I heard in an earlier call that this is kind of with the VM team now. And JIT's not actively doing anything, waiting for answers from VM.
I have another update for this issue, which will be posted soon. I think it's happening because the pending stack arcs in the JTY frame are incorrect. If you go further down in this command, you can see the JTY frame, which will be just below the bytecode frame. And there's only one pending, one O slot in the pending stack. I believe there needs to be 2. And if there are 2 pending O slots, then in the bytecode frame, there won't be null at reference number 4. And I believe the pending O slots are, it's the responsibility of the JIT to pass the correct information, because the memory next to the pending stack O slots doesn't contain the right parameters either. So I will have to post more questions to why that's happening.
So it sounds like you're working through this, and do you have a somebody that you're working with on the JIT team on this?
It's mostly Daryl. Daryl has a workspace, and he has given me a machine where this issue is easily reproducible.
Okay. Given the state of where we're at with this issue, and I believe the intention to split on the 20th, do you think this will be resolved within that time frame, or are you still too early in the investigation?
I still don't know where the root cause for the failure is. If my questions get answered quickly, and if it looks like I'm going in the right direction, then it may be resolved in 2 weeks.
Thanks, Babneet. Is there anything else in this list that we need to be talking about or ensuring gets the right focus now and that split date? Jump back.
Probably going to have to whittle the list down a bit. I think Toby was going to take a look and see if anything can be moved out.
Okay.
I think it'll start getting more focus now that we're done with the previous release.
Okay. The other thing we should be thinking about then is the 034 release, which is the Java 19 release. Right now, I think there's 9 items in here, so it's fairly quiet. But there is a lot of work to go into that release because Loom is the preview item there. So I expect that we'll talk about Loom later in the call when we get to that section, but just for people to be thinking and aware to make sure that we're going to be able to ship this one on time.
Seems like Loom is being proposed as a preview feature now to be closed on Thursday at OpenJDK.
Yes.
My understanding is that if OpenJDK does deliver that soon, we won't be ready, and we won't be able to get the latest OpenJDK content until we are ready.
Do you have an idea of how far from ready we are?
Jack will give an update later, but there is a lot of new natives being added, some changes to JNCI and JNI. And so it's just a matter of stubbing everything with the right signatures so we can compile. That's our initial goal. Jacques been working on that for the last couple of weeks. But yeah, we'll get an update when we get to that section.
Are there any other long pull items for the Java 19 release that we should be tracking?
The FFI work, that's also going to be a preview. As far as down calls go, we are looking good on all platforms we support. Up calls is where majority of the work will be. Django will provide an update, but I think there's some new capabilities with regards to performing an up call from a non-Java thread, which we weren't aware of before. And then there's just the general mechanism covering all cases with, all different types of arguments.
Thanks, Toby. I have to pull together the schedule details on this.
So I have some dates that I worked out earlier for all the things this year. So we could put down July 25th as our branch date.
Second, just to catch up on. July 22 for.
Yeah, perfect. July 25 for the M1 start. August 22nd for M2. And September 20.
Which is September feels like a fair ways off, but given the branch is only in July, a huge amount of time to get there. So please do be looking at this release plan and the items that need to go in to make sure we're able to ship 19 on time as well.
These are ideal dates. If things go as new versions of Java have gone in the past, they might slip to the right.
Yeah,
Plus, that M1 start date kind of conflicts with the 0.33 release, so I could see it being pushed out just because of that.
Yeah, that would be okay, but if we can break the trend of slipping our new releases, I'd like to see us reverse that if possible. Then let's transition into the regular updates. Do we have someone from Adopt? Don't see Shelley or Co on the call, so I guess we'll skip over that. Adam, is there an update with infrastructure?
I don't have much to say. Making slow progress on the Windows machine re-rollout. Don't have an update on it. We reduced the Artifactory disk cleanup to 25 days permanently, so we're back in the high 80s right now, I believe. And we're being offered a new machine at Equinix for A-Linux. So they're looking for a time frame on how fast we could move off. So have to think about that and get back to them. I think that's about it. There was some, Pete had some Mac questions that he talked to me about earlier. So there's two Macs. One Mac that is newer that doesn't seem to be working right since we shipped it there, so we have to see if we can get that one going. And there's a couple of older Macs that are both giving issues, but we don't want to disable both of them because then we'd be low on capacity. So we want to get something going so that we can try and get the other ones fixed before taking more offline, basically.
Yeah, so we have two 10.11 machines. One of them was crashing in array copy quite frequently, and it's been disabled for quite some time. The other 10.11 machine, it's getting frequent crashes due to not being able to find env. And so I'm wanting to disable that one as well, but I don't want to disable it until we have something to replace it. And then we could then try upgrading these machines and see if they're more reliable after an update to a newer OS version.
Is that Mac is always the one I'm unclear on the model for. If we update the machine, can we no longer use it as a compile machine?
We don't compile on those machines. We're compiling on. I'm not sure it matters what version we compile on. Or we're definitely compiling on newer machines, but you're still able to run on the older machines.
Okay, and so the key reason for keeping the older machines is to make sure we don't accidentally break the ability to run on something older.
Right, but I don't know. I think the triage cost of having the frequent crashes is too high, and I don't know how many users are going to be using OSs that are that old. So
yeah, as long as we're not shooting ourselves in the foot on being able to build Java 8 and the older releases, then
no, it's not a build issue.
We
did update some minimum levels for Java 11 and up to be higher than they were previously. In theory, we still support 10.10 plus, I think, for Java 8, but we might have to rely on user testing.
Okay.
Yeah,
if the ongoing... Sorry, go ahead, Adam.
I was just going to say my understanding of how the Mac compile level works is not like Linux where it's tied to the OS version, it's tied to the Xcode version. But then you can only install older Xcode on certain OSs. So you can only bump up the OS so far before you can't install Xcode anymore. That's my understanding anyway.
Okay. That certainly rings some bells for me, which is why I was partly concerned about keeping old machines around.
I think we're compiling on 10.14. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think we have 10.14 or maybe 10.15. I have an issue with this.
Yeah, it's one of those two. We could easily check, but it's probably not worth the time.
Yeah, if the triage cost on this is too high and it's not affecting our ability to build, then by all means update.
So 10.15 is what we compile on outside.
Or I see one that's 10.14, so maybe we compile on both.
Inside we compile on 10.14. Emery we compile on 10.14. So I think 10.15 is the last one though, for 10, if I recall correctly. But yeah, I think when we started we were on 10.10 or something, so we should be able to upgrade those 10.11s if like as you say, the triage cost is more effort than what the benefit of making sure we can run on that old stuff.
Might want to check your info because I don't even think we have 10.15 in the open.
Oh, sorry, I have them reversed. So 10.15 inside on OpenJ9 compiles, 10.14 outside. But Semmer is still on 10.14 as well. So for some reason we upgraded internally to run on newer machines, but not externally. might have just never got around to it.
Well, we could, if those 1011 machines are suitable, we could try.
Those two Mac 10s, those new ones, the one that's offline and the one that's good, those are 1015. So we could try and build on number 2, and if we can get number 1 working, but we should have more than 2. Anyway, we can follow up offline.
Thanks, Adam. Just double checking if Marius has joined. He has not, so I guess we'll skip the JIT server update.
Well, we have Adam. Adam, are all the Sumru builds available now?
Yeah, so the Mac binaries are published yesterday. We're just waiting for the website to be updated. There was a user, Ben, who raised issue about the new signature files, so I was going to go through and verify what's going on with those.
Thanks, Adam. Next microJIT meeting is May the 5th. Toby, do you want to give an update on the CRIU support?
Yeah, so the last couple of weeks, the focus has been on getting some CRU security changes in. So those are just getting reviewed. The extensions repo side of things are in. We're just adding the runtime hooks to change behavior between checkpoint and restore. Once that is ready, then we'll be all set for the second early access build with this feature. Moving forward, we're going to spend some time looking at a broader set of fix-ups we need to do. So things related to time, things related to resources between a checkpoint and restore. Also, we're also going to take a close look at the single thread mode capabilities and things that need to be disallowed in that mode. And we're also going to look at improving some of our documentation. Just as we start to publicize this a bit more, we want to have a stable place where people can get more information on this feature. That's about it.
Thanks, Toby. Jack, do you have an update on Loom?
Yes, Dan. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, so I've been working on getting the stubs in and also fixing all the Java compilation errors. Right now, I am able to get a build that runs to the point where we're actually needing the newly built JVM to actually launch the exploit optimized image. So we've fixed all the Java-related compile errors and native compare errors that are related. I am currently working on fixing the export from native to Java code that I'm seeing linkage errors in. Hopefully that should be resolved sometime today or tomorrow, so we can get a build that we can actually run into to see at least Java version, and we'll go from there.
Do we have basic support for virtual threads, the VM level support at this point?
No.
Is the plan of record still to allocate a separate J9 VM thread structure for virtual thread?
I believe we're just going to be using the existing J9 virtual thread, at least the current plan is, and we'll just switch between the different VM thread structure stacks.
Okay, and so there will be a J9 VM thread for every virtual thread, but those J9 VM threads will not be backed by a platform native thread.
Right.
All right, and at this point, I guess if we don't have that working yet, we haven't been able to do any analysis on how that compares to the OpenJDK implementation.
Yeah, we're still working on trying to get the issues resolved in order to get the VM fully functional with the added OpenJDK thread library.
Do we have an ETA on when we, or do we have an implementation plan for this with some dates tied to it?
We have an overview draft for implementation, but we don't have any concrete date in terms of when we would be able to achieve what stage.
It would be really good to start trying to put some sort of wet finger dates to it, sort of estimates or ballpark, something to start to say whether we're going to be on track or not for this release. So if you could pull together some kind of delivery plan around the different stages that you've identified, that would be really good.
Okay, I will look into that, and hopefully next meeting I'll have some dates available.
Thanks, Jack. Cheng, do you have an update on the Panama FFI piece?
Yes. Last week, I worked with JIT team and GC and fix random issues which caused by the cornea color frame. So already fixed that. In terms of the code optimization on the duplicate stack for the same message handler, it already function works, but I spot an issue with the native thread, which triggered by down-code native functions. So because there's no Java thread associated with the native thread, so in terms of multi-threading, so I still try to figure out how to deal with this. Probably I need to create a Java thread to attach that before coding. In terms of the upcall work on AX PVC64, already verified all the primitive types issues with fixed on the float in terms of the big ending. But there's the issue with fixed page size on AX because page size out there is pretty small as compared to our default values. So that means we have to release the thunk every time when the scope is closed to make sure we have a sufficient memory for the thunk allocation. So, but I probably need to first fix the issue with the native thread and get back to with this. So yeah, that's about it. Yeah.
I have a similar question for you, given that this is now targeting JDK 19. Do you have a timeline for the implementation and delivery of this?
We have actually we still have other platforms to deal with, like AS330, X64, and X86. So because JET, I think the JET team have not really the code for all this platform. So far, we probably still have a couple of weeks to finish all the issues on PowerPC, like including X and Linux. So we should be able to, if they have not yet ready on that time when we're done with on PowerPC. So we should first submit the code review, put everything together, submit the code review for PowerPC, and we'll keep going work with the other platforms. So I believe there's some specific details on the platform, other platforms, but I believe not too much work out there.
Okay, it would be good to sort of get that same kind of timeline for delivery written down and per platform so that we can sort of look at this each week as we're going through this meeting and make sure that we're on track to complete things.
Okay, I'll talk to JET team to see how it goes.
Okay. Thanks, Chen. Don't see Daryl on the call, so I don't know. Does anyone have an update on how the M1 implementation is going?
We have some limitations that are in the release notes. There's some DDR work in progress. We're getting DDR support, and that should help us debug some of the other stuff.
Has the compressed refs support work started?
I believe Daryl said it was started.
follow up when Daryl's on the call. Keith, anything you want to call out around the shared library rename?
No, I haven't done any work on that last week. Given it's planned for the .33 release, I'd get moving, I guess.
Babneet, is there an update on the method handles backport efforts?
JDK 8 is somewhat functional, and last week I posted a PowerPoint on the perf results which were requested. I only ran Dash 1 benchmarks last week. This week I tried to run the Liberty footprint and startup benchmarks, but the parsing scripts are timing out, so I have to wait for the point of contact to come back from vacation. And then I can provide results for Liberty startup and footprint as well. The memory, class memory, more class memory is used, but the overall memory is still less with OpenJDK method handles in OpenJ9 in comparison to OpenJ9 method handles.
So just to make sure I understood that the class, it uses more class memory but less memory overall?
Yep, the object heap memory goes substantially down.
Okay, how much of a difference is there in the class memory?
Class memory, I think it was 0.86, or 15, max was 15% less.
Um,
15% regression in class memory. We can open the PPT. It's over there, the link.
Yeah, I have it open. I don't want to fight with my screen sharing because we're basically at time. So I was just hoping you could give me a number rather than a percentage. Are we talking a couple of meg? Are we talking?
So the benchmarks varied quite a bit. So that's why I did a relative comparison instead of. But the class memory was, I think, in the region of either. Let me open the Excel.
It does sound concerning because for 32-bit, it seems, if somebody's running with a fixed XMX, they could run out of 32-bit memory if we're using more class memory.
Yeah, that's why percentages are hard to deal with. Are we, if we're talking a K, it's probably noise. If we're talking multiple megs,
I think it's in megabytes. So, and it's in the range of 10. All are identical, 10 megabytes. One is more. One is in the range of 24 megabytes. That's the total class memory being used, and the diff is 10%. So you're seeing either 1 to 2 megs diff.
And these are on method handle heavy applications?
Yes, and once I get Liberty Data Rater and footprint numbers, we should be able to see for other benchmarks where it's not heavily being used.
Okay. Yeah, if you can provide, percentages help, but also some.
I can post a link to the Excel I have. It has all memory in bytes.
Okay. That would help as well. But when summarizing, if you can provide the summaries that detail what the differences are, but then also give a sense of, this is
the
a
size,
K or 10 meg or whatever the actual range is, that helps.
Yep.
All right. Is there anything else that we want to cover today? All right, then I guess we will call this here. Thanks, everyone. Sorry for going a little bit over, but I think we had some good discussions. So pick this up again next week.
Thank you.